I don't really know if I actually agree with the terms pro and anti-abortion.
Okay.
Because, like, pro-abortion would essentially mean that you're only for abortion, and anti-abortion would only mean that you are against abortion.
So what's your position?
So I am pro-choice, but I wouldn't say pro-life is the opposite. I would say it's pro-choice versus, in the most cases, anti-abortion. I am pro-choice, where I'm like, you know, if you choose that you want to, you know, have that child in any circumstance that you're under, then absolutely, that's your choice.
Okay.
If you choose that you want to have an abortion, that's your choice. It's your body. It's no one else's. And I think Canada does a really great job with abortion legislation, because there's not a single word within Canadian legislation that includes the word abortion or anything to that means. Like, technically in Canada, you can be up to your full third trimester, and as long as that fetus is not outside of your womb, you can have a legal abortion. So
I don't see how you're like also pro-life. I don't like. Are you just saying like you are a proponent of people living?
So if someone chooses to have that child because they believe.
Yeah, but like from my understanding, you're just a pro-choice person, like through and through. Like there is no like.
I'm pro-choice. I'm pro.
Okay.
I'm pro whoever's body that, you know, goes through that circumstance. They get to choose because it's their body and no one else's.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw a curveball at you because like we're gonna try and get some traction, right?
No, absolutely.
So I'm gonna put myself under the bus a little bit.
No.
I have a little bit of a,
Safe
I don't know,
space.
considered like extreme opinion on this.
Okay.
I think it should go beyond the third trimester. So like, I think like up to a year old, you should be able to like kill your kid. Is that crazy?
As a woman or as a parent?
Like as a parent. Like maybe like both parents agree. Maybe we'll say that.
I don't know if that should be
Like not like, oh, why won't he shut the fuck up? Let me shoot him. Like not like that.
Yeah.
But like,
what do you believe?
Like, hey, my kid is born, but now we're realizing that like he has some sort of like terrible like I don't know, name your like incurable disease. He has this.
Well, yeah. So,
like we could either
there's a lot of science that's able to see that before a
yeah, but
fetus
say
is
like
born.
it didn't happen for whatever reason. Like you didn't. Let's say you didn't go in for an ultrasound because you're I don't know, you're lazy or whatever.
Okay.
You know, there's 1,000 different circumstances under which you could have a kid, and you know he has
And
a
you
problem
find
that you
out-
can't fix, and you find out after.
So what is the motivation to kill that child?
Because he's not gonna have a quality of life ever, right?
But
like,
is that up to the justification of the parents, or is that an ideal that's agreed upon within society?
I think it should be the parents.
Okay, well then, that's you can't justify just the parents within law. It has to be something that's between right and wrong within society.
But why is that true? Like in the third trimester?
What do you mean?
Because you said under any circumstances, on the third trimester,
Yeah.
the parents could choose. Like, I
Yes.
don't want this kid.
That's the legalities in Canada, though.
Right.
That is just what is law in Canada.
So I'm just saying, let's extend that law slightly further, like time-wise.
Okay, but that's not the reality of what's in Canada.
Obviously, right? But we're
Yeah.
talking about like what could be, right?
But I mean, when a child is born, then at that point you have the ability to, you know, put them into the adoption agency or foster care or something like that.
Sure. But that's like, oh, I don't want this responsibility. I'm just gonna send it to somebody else, right? And like, to be honest, like, odds are, if you have a kid with like, say he's born fully paralyzed, for example, right? And you go to a foster home,
Okay.
the odds of somebody being selected over like a healthy child by a foster parent is incredibly slim. I would think, unless you're Stuart Little, you're not gonna get chosen, right? So
yeah, but you cannot say that. Like, yes, that's the like statistic of it, but you can't say 100% that that's what's going to
you
happen in
can't,
reality.
right? Obviously,
Yeah.
but like, you could make the same arguments about somebody's trying to have like a normal abortion. Like, it's like, oh, I don't want this kid because I won't be able to afford it, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You could be like, well, you don't know 100% that you can.
Between like when scientifically is a child or when is a fetus or a group of cells or whatever a life. But at the same time, it's not just about science. Like, law does not just entail science in any regard, whether
Sure,
that's,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah, but in the third trimester, we're past all that. Like, what's life? Like, that baby's, like, you know, you can take it out and it'd probably be viable at that point, right?
But in the eyes of Canadian law, that's just not the reality.
Yeah, I understand that, but we're not talking about the scope of Canadian law here, right? We're just talking about your personal opinion and mine, right?
Okay.
So how would you feel about this? Like, extending the third trimester slightly longer. Let's say not a year, but I don't know, maybe a month extra.
But actually after birth,
Yeah.
in not the eyes of the child, but the eyes of the adult, or the mother, sorry, there's actually law that protects the mother because of postpartum depression. Because very commonly in postpartum depression, not very commonly, sorry, but there are instances in postpartum depression where mothers will kill their child because
Yeah.
of like the trauma that they go through and the change of and shift of hormones within them. So I don't know.
No, so I get your point, but
Yeah.
basically what I'm arguing for is that if that's true, we don't want to have like a coat hanger situation. So like, you know how like places where you can't have abortions, people, you know, coat hanger or whatever, name your way of getting,
Which is
you know.
not within Canada because of its jurisdiction.
Right, but there's definitely
Because of
places that
laws.
happens,
There are a lot
right?
of states where they're trying to push that abortion shouldn't be legal at all.
Right, then that puts it in like their own hands, like deal with it however you
Yeah,
want.
absolutely.
So I'm saying we shouldn't have that. We should have people, you know, if they want to end their kid's life because they think that's in the best interest of the kid,
Yeah.
they should have like a doctor help them out with that. Does that make sense? Or no? Is that crazy?
I'm still not following because a coat hanger death would be pre-birth.
Right. But it only happens in places where abortion through a doctor is not allowed. Right? So they have to resort to that.
It actually puts the mother at risk as well. Because,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm just saying, if you were in a situation that you have a kid, he's a month old, and you feel like he's not going to have a viable life, it shouldn't be like, hey, I'm going to drown my kid in the bathtub. Like, you should be able to go to a doctor and be like, hey, I think we should, like, terminate him. Does that make sense? Or is that weird? After he's born, yeah. Is that too much?
Well, at that point, it's kind of like the whole debate around when does like a human or a fetus or whatever gain rights. And in my own perspective, as soon as they're born, like as soon as they're out of the womb, that becomes a human life that, you know, has rights. Before that, that group of cells or fetus or baby or whatever you want to call it,
Right.
is under the rights of the woman.
Of the woman.
who's
All right.
holding that, whatever you want to claim.
So you think that the moment of birth is where everything flips, and now
legally they have.
full rights and you can't kill them. But like, here's another situation though. Like, if you have a family member who's like in a vegetative state, like they got
Okay,
right.
well that's different from abortion. That would be like euthanasia.
Exactly,
Or assisted
but
suicide.
now the family
And
does
I
have a
also
right to kill
do
him, right?
I also do believe in that.
Right. So if you can see a case in which the family does get a right to end a life,
Yeah.
even though they're an adult, then you could see how it could have applied to a baby as well, right? Or no?
Well, yes. I mean, there. You know, if at some point that the baby's life is going to be like a chronic disease where they
Right.
will not improve or something, then you know maybe that's the case. It's honestly hard to apply the same law and the same idea to every single life that
Right.
exists on this earth because it's so contingent on so many things.
Of
Like,
course, they're touchy subjects, right?
yeah, like it's not like one person is the exact same as the other. Like a huge precedent within Canada is that case where that the mother and father had a daughter who was very, I think, cerebral palsy or something.
Right.
And the father put her in the garage with the car on. And
Yeah. So you don't want
allowed her
that.
to die, but it's like, you know, there's so many things that go into law, and it's not just science. Like there's a lot of emotion that goes into it because that's
Exactly,
the
but
reality of human life.
Right.
is
No,
that
but
it's
imagine
not
you're
just
the dad
science.
who has to put your kid in the garage.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane, right? You don't want to let someone live with that.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of like the dignity question of, I don't know. It was really nice talking to you.
Yeah,
I hope
you as
we
well.
didn't say anything too crazy.
No, I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for sharing
Absolutely.
this super intense topic.